Welcome to the Homeschool Together podcast. Where one working mom and a stay-at-home dad help you navigate the nuts and bolts of the growing and dynamic world of homeschooling.
With a focus on early learners, like me.
All the ins and outs of building and maintaining your homeschool life.
Homeschool.
Find out tips and tricks to make things like this easier.
I'm reading.
And ultimately, enjoy educating your kids. And what's that last thing?
Have fun together. Did I do good, Daddy?
Yeah, you did, sweetie. Good job. Hello and welcome to Homeschool Together. Thanks so much for joining us. If you have a chance, head down into the show notes. We'll have a lot of links. Definitely a lot of links today that I'll put in there for you guys, as well as ways to connect to us on social media. Check out our growing YouTube channel and see our pretty faces talking about things like spines and around the world journeys and lots of good things that we're continuing to work on and continuing to roll out for you guys. Ariel, I wanted to tell you something. I got a job.
You did.
I'm a homeschool IRS agent. I'm one of the 87,000. I'm here to audit. How much did we spend on homeschool curriculum last year?
Yep. So we talked in the last episode that the average family spends somewhere between $250 and $1,200. My sincere hope was that we would keep it under $500 for our kids this year, and we were not successful. So final answer for our school, after we totaled it up for ourselves, we spent $600 this last year.
Now, there's an important preface there that we did do 2 levels of ELA
and 2 levels of math.
And so that added a little bit extra.
Well, we did more than 2 levels. We did we did 2 different
levels within the
we did
level,
2 different ELA curriculums, and then we did 2 different math curriculums, and one of them we did 2 levels of, and at Right Start, which is the more expensive one. So our kid burned through math.
She was chewing through
faster,
it like a prairie fire.
Yeah, faster than we expected. So for our $600, that was our all-in-one curriculum, which is, our Around the World, if you've been listening. We got our reading curriculum, spelling, math, nature, science, and a preschool curriculum for our little one. So that was our $600, and that's where that went.
A lot of workbooks as well.
And a ton of workbooks, you're right.
Yeah, if you go back and look at some of our short bites, we've been reviewing a lot of the Evan Moore books, and also our voluminous trips to the dollar store to get those awesome little addition and subtraction books as well.
Yeah, so it was interesting, getting ready for the series. We wanted to total up and, share, frankly, how much we spent.
Yeah, it was funny because we recorded
it just started like going up and up as we started talking longer about it.
Yeah, we recorded it last week, and then you were in the living room doing something while I was editing, and you came back in at the end, you go, oh, I totally forgot. We should have done our own tally and tell these people what we spent.
Right. So we figured,
just wait till the next episode.
We figured we would do it in this episode and tell you how much it cost us. So $600 was our answer. So today, though, we're going to try to focus on budgeting and see how you can minimize it. And some of those things that we bought were still used, but still did it. The cost did add up. We've got some good reasons for what we purchased, and we really think we're going to be able to use a lot of it for our next child. And, we felt that they were good investments, but it was still a cost we had to pay.
Yeah, we're definitely buying things with the idea or the mentality that we will be reusing things.
Right. And, that's always the best laid plans. You're hoping that your next kid or kids will, click with that curriculum. But just so in all candidness, that's how much we spent. And hopefully it won't be quite that much next year, but we'll see how fast she churns through curriculum. So
let's talk about it.
Let's get started. We got a big topic.
Yeah, there's a lot of things to cover today. A lot of cool, ideas and a lot of cool resources as well. So the people are sitting there, they're new to it, or maybe they're 1 year in. They had a good year, but they want to have a better year coming up. They want to think about their curriculum. What are those things that they can think about when it comes to their budget and planning and making decisions, for what's best for their family?
Right. So when you're choosing your curriculum and you have your budget in mind, and I hope you all did your homework and you've got your budgets ready.
I didn't do my homework, Ariel.
Well, That's because we were doing. I'm in accounting in my MBA course right now, and we were doing the financial accounting there, where we were looking back on the previous year. We were not doing managerial accounting, looking forward for the following.
My price to earnings ratio is very low, very
low. So okay, you've got your budget in mind. You know kind of what you think you want to do for curriculum. Here's a few tips. So first, you really want to research your curriculum well, because you want to decrease the chance that you've wasted that purchase. It's really tough. This is where it gets into reading about the curriculum, taking a good look at, the format, the scope and sequence of the curriculum, do some YouTube videos, talk to some other parents if you can. Like really, you want to do your research if you're very budget conscious, because you can't afford to make a mistake. That could be very costly. So really also, research as best as you can.
Yeah. Consider also, the learning styles. If you've been doing some preschool, or if you've been doing some initial work, like some pre-math, pre-reading work with your student, find out, kind of what styles they like. Do they like more hands-on?
Right.
Do they like more workbook? Find out what they are, what they are attracted to. And, have that also inform what you do.
Exactly.
Yeah, like,
definitely.
Because I'm seeing differences between my older kid and my younger kid right now. And so I'm kind of like doing a lot of pre-work right now. And I'm really trying to say, okay, maybe she isn't going to want this type of style. She's going to want this type of style. So I'm starting to already think about that.
Yeah, you definitely need to understand your kids to try to make the best curriculum purchase. It's funny, the purchase of curriculum, it obviously has to work with your student style. It also has to work with your style and be something that you feel comfortable with. Maybe you need a really prescriptive curriculum that gives you a script of exactly what to say. You're going to want to go one way with curriculum, or maybe you want something more free form that you can kind of piece together, be more eclectic, use what you want. It has to mesh with both of your styles. So one thing that I really love is a lot of curriculums give you the opportunity to try it before you buy it. Now
you've given this advice to almost everyone you've ever talked to. I've heard you say this a number of times. I think it's a great idea.
A lot of the hard copy curriculums, I'm looking at you, Right Start Math and All About Reading. Yeah. You can't try them before you buy. But if you're looking at like a digital PDF curriculum, one of the ones we like Blossom and Root, Build Your Library, the list goes on. A lot of them will have a try our 1 week sample. This is a great thing, and we've recommended to people to do this in the summer, which is print out that 1 week sample and do it with your learner. And see what you think and see if you like it. I mean, go through the thought, or at least if you're not going to do it with your learner, go through the thought experiment of what if I did do this? And really, it's a great chance to really take a look at it. If it's an online curriculum, oftentimes they've got some sort of a 7-day, 14-day, 30-day free trial. This is the time. Definitely sign up and take all your days really to really evaluate that curriculum. And maybe this is the thing that there's nobody that says we have to start homeschooling on September 1st or September 15th or whatever. If you're not quite ready because you don't know exactly what curriculum, maybe take this time now to, try some things on for size, really do your research so that you can spend your dollars wisely. So really look for opportunities to sample.
And then also at the same time, think about, can I educate multiple children? Is this curriculum good enough that I can bridge a 2-year gap, and I can just upscale here or maybe downscale here to bring both children along at the same time.
Right. Or is this a curriculum that I can make as a legacy that I can pass down, that the next child can use this same curriculum? Or am I trying to buy a curriculum for the youngest child in my family, in which case there's nobody to pass that to, right? So really, and just think about it. Some curriculums are completely consumable. It's really difficult to use them for another child. Take that into account so that you can kind of cost spread that as best you can. The other thing I want to mention is if you have a friend, another parent in your co-op, somebody in your local area that has this curriculum, that you can borrow it, you can review it. We've done this with some friends of ours that, they just want to see our curriculum. They come over and we have kind of a curriculum fair, and they bring their curriculum and I've got mine, and we all just look at what we have.
Yeah, we lent them the All About Reading, and I got to look at the Explode the Code, and that was one of the reasons why we jumped into it, because they had done it.
Right. So leverage your community as best you can. If you don't have a community and you want to get one of these ones in All About Reading or something, it might be a great idea to join the Facebook group for a lot of, like All About Reading, for example, has a Facebook discussion group. That might be a great group to join to ask questions about the curriculum, since you can't sample it if no one around you has it. That might be a really perfect time to kind of assess, maybe look through the previous posts of the group, see if this might be the right fit for you.
But also, a lot of times those content creators will have YouTube channels or some type of, embedded videos on their website where they will walk you through a lesson or two, or, maybe they have some extended tutorials on how to teach their stuff. I know All About Reading has a lot of YouTube videos. So, check out those videos and see if those things help you make a better decision.
Yeah, exactly. The last thing I would say is about the note of online things. If you're looking at online curriculum, one of the problems with that is obviously you can't, you don't get to, it's not hard copy. You don't get to keep it forever.
Yeah, right.
It's a subscription based thing. Some of them are per student, per seat, and some of them are per family. So really be careful when you're looking at online things or app-based things. If it's an app-based, can it take multiple profiles so multiple kids can use this at the same time? Or is it, just a one kid subscription?
That can get expensive pretty fast.
It can get expensive. Yeah. But if you can do your whole family and it's an app that covers a lot of grade levels.
One site with multiple profiles, or
totally,
per seat.
Exactly.
That's always the way those subscription services kind of get you there.
So these are just a few things to keep in mind when you're trying to choose your curriculum and really with budget as a focus. These are just a few thoughts.
So we've talked about ways to save. You talked a little bit about parents. Are there other ways that, finding parents that are in co-ops or finding parents that are, doing the same curriculum as you, are there other things that people could do as well?
Yeah. So when we talk about you've chosen your curriculum, so you know what you want to do. Now, how affordably can you acquire said curriculum? And you're right. The first thing that you can do is try to find somebody that you can just borrow it from. If they've finished using it and they've got all the books, you can borrow it this year, and then maybe you can do a swap with them. Maybe they can borrow a piece of your curriculum. That is a great way to go. Obviously, that is a no cost option. Maybe you have to buy just the student activity book or student workbook that goes with it. That's fantastic if that's an option for you. I haven't really seen local libraries that lend curriculum out. I know that our parent partnership does lend some,
our parent partnership
but
does.
You might find, chances are you've got another homeschool family in your community that might have the curriculum that you plan to use, and then you won't have to buy it at all.
Yeah, find your local Facebook group and ask if people are using this curriculum, and is there somebody close to you that maybe you can swap with them if it's something that is on reserve for the year for them, is on the shelf, and maybe they're free to trade or some type of, maybe you could buy it from them for a year or something like that. Who knows, right?
Who knows, right? You can leverage your community if you're on a super tight budget, especially if you want one of those more expensive programs. This is a good way to try to find somebody else who's got it, who can help you, and then maybe you can return the favor. So let's assume that, that aside, because that I think is a hard thing to do, right? Yeah. We're not in control of that. We got to rely on somebody else. Let's assume you've got to buy it. What are the cheapest ways to buy it? So the first thing is always buy during a sale. Yeah. You always want to buy when it's on sale.
Sign up to their newsletters or their Facebook pages or whatnot.
Right. The best thing to do is sign up for the newsletter from the curriculum provider, which will give you like discount codes and sale days. And then usually curriculum providers have sales a few times a year, and they're pretty consistent about when they have those. I recommend joining the Facebook group for the not the necessarily, you can look at the Facebook page for the curriculum if they post it there. They're not always great about that, and you can scroll back through and see when the sales were. But I guarantee you, if you join the Facebook discussion group for that curriculum, somebody has asked it, or you can ask it, when do they normally have sales? And then you'll know. Part of this is planning, right? If you're trying to buy a curriculum, it's like, oh, I'm deciding now and I need it next month. This is a hard one. So sales really rely on you knowing in advance what you think you're going to use, and that's not always easy. So we realize, but if it's possible to buy on a sale, definitely do, especially those, digital PDF curriculums. Those are always, they go on sale like 3 times a year, 4 times a year.
Exactly. What about like co-ops and things of that nature?
Yeah, so there's an online homeschool buyers co-op. Homeschool buyers co-op is kind of like they have a window that you can order the curriculum in, and you get it at a discount in that window, and they're leveraging group buying power, right? You're being part of a group buy without having to really belong to a specific group. You can just go on there. And I bought a few things on there. Be aware that the curriculum on there is mixed. There's some secular stuff. There's some non-secular things on there. But you can occasionally find a good deal. Not all of it is like a really good deal as good as a sale, but some of it is. And there are some curriculum creators, Right Start Math and All About Reading are great examples, that I don't think ever have sales. I've never seen them have a sale. So, you're going to have to be creative with those, and doing something like Homeschool Buyers Co-op. It's always worth checking. Once you know what you want to do, figure out how you can get it most affordably. And I think there's another good note is, once you know and you want to figure out the affordable option, the Facebook discussion group is often very helpful for that too. Not only can they tell you when there's a sale, they can probably tell you like the best place to go buy it too. Should I go buy it at Rainbow Resource? Should I go directly to the company?
Is there like a buy, sell, trade type of group as well?
Yeah. So that's the next thing that I would recommend. If you're okay buying the curriculum used, I would definitely join the Facebook buy, sell, trade group for that curriculum. So like the first year we bought All About Reading, I bought it brand new. And for our level 2, I bought it used from another mom. Be a little bit careful with it. Obviously, you want to use PayPal, get insurance if it's a really expensive purchase. You want to be protected as a buyer, but a lot of those groups, they have pretty good buy, sell, trade rules.
Is it typically PayPal, or do they use Venmo as well?
It's always PayPal because it's got some protection if you don't get it. If it doesn't arrive or there's been some sort of fraud. I've had pretty good experience on there. Follow your group's rules. Ask questions if you need to, but you can go on there and you can take a look and see kind of what things are selling for. You can often get a pretty good discount.
Yeah, what type of discounts are they looking at here?
Anywhere between 25 to 50% off.
Yeah, some of those curriculums, that could add up pretty fast.
Absolutely. I was able to buy
2 or 3 curriculums, a couple of years, you saved a lot of money.
Totally. I was able to buy All About Reading level 2 and All About Spelling level 1 as a bundle together. And I got them at like maybe 60% of the cost normally. I think I got like 40% off on it. It was really good. And it helped out another homeschool family also, which is awesome. So check out the buy, sell, trade groups. I think that's great. The one thing is you're waiting for somebody to offer it up and it not to be, nobody to beat you to the punch. And that can be sometimes frustrating. I found that with the buy, sell trades. One of the things you can do is you can use ISO in search of, ISO level 2 and whatever. And sometimes a parent will just PM you, oh yeah, we're finishing up with that and I'm going to be done with it next month and I'm going to sell it for this price. Is that good for you? And you can, and that's how I got mine. I did an ISO and I was able to make a deal before they even posted it.
So walk them through that. What is it, is it just a regular post, an ISO type of thing? That sounds a little complicated. What does that sound like?
Right. So the buy, sell, trade Facebook groups are just listings, right? Mm-hmm. Somebody will say, hey, I've got this level and it's for this much with shipping or whatever. And then the first person to comment on it.
Yeah, it's like first.
Yes, they have the first position on that purchase. And then somebody says second in case that person falls through. And that's how that goes. Okay. So if you're not Johnny on the spot, sometimes you'll miss it, which is really frustrating. So the other type of post that you can put on there is an ISO, in search of. So you say ISO level 2, All About Reading, with cards or whatever. And sometimes people will either comment on that or they'll message you or say, hey, can I message you? A lot of times it's a family that's not quite done with their curriculum yet. So they haven't listed it yet because they're not quite finished, but they are eminently going to be finishing. And you kind of got in first position by asking for it. Mm-hmm. And then you can make that deal right there and, you just use Messenger and then you do the same PayPal as whatever the group rules are. You can also do a trade. Hey, I've got level 2 and I need level 3. Anybody want to trade with me? And you can post things like that too. And the groups are generally pretty nice. So the thing about buy, sell, trade groups, while I've used them and they do work well, again, this is another advanced thing. You have to have time to be able to acquire it used for somebody else to be done with it so you can get it. One of the things that's difficult about these is there's more availability in summer, clearly, because more people are coming off of a previous year's schooling and starting up a new year. But there's also a lot more people that are looking. I tend to find that it's, midwinter, there's less coming up, but there's way less demand. I end up getting better deals. So
makes sense. Okay.
I try to buy ahead. For example, with All About Reading, we had such a good experience with this mom that we bought this from, and she was starting level 3 and we're still in level 2. I messaged her and said, hey, how's it going with level 3? Do you want to sell level 3 to me when you're done? And she's like, yeah, sure. We're going to finish with it this fall. I'll message you when we're done. So now I've established a relationship with another family in another state that's a level ahead of me. And now she's not going to post for sale, and I'm not going to post an ISO because I already have a line on curriculum from somebody that gave me good, well-organized curriculum. So you can get into those relationships too. And I think that there may even be a possibility to ask for a relationship like that. Hey, I'm in level, we're just starting level 1. Would love to find a level 2 family that we can pair with, that you can sell me your levels as you get done with them or something. And you might find a family out there who's like, oh, great. That takes all the stress out of it. I don't have to worry about who's the buyer and what's the weird thing, like I always have the same outlet for my curriculum.
That's good.
So look at the buy sell trades. I think it's not for everybody. I know I feel like sometimes it's a little bit like I got really stressed out using eBay because I'd bid on something and it'd be really good until the last minute when somebody else came in and got it. And it just stressed me out. And this isn't that way. There's no bidding. Not like that. I don't want to confuse anybody. But the process of like not knowing if I could just I want to go to eBay and just buy it now. I want to just click the buy button. I don't want to have to wait or wonder or any of that.
Yeah.
And buy sell trades
or like an auction or something. It
right.
feels more auction-y than anything.
And buy sell trade is not an auction. It doesn't work like that. But I still feel that tension of I got to be there first, right? Because when the new post comes up, you want to be the first person to comment to say, yeah, me. And so you feel like you're checking back all the time. It gets a little obsessive and it stresses me out a bit.
Yeah.
So
you end up spending a ton of time on the Facebook where you don't want to spend more time.
So I kind of like the ISO because then I can just be like, hey, this is what I'm looking for, and just put it out there. If no one responds, great. I'll try again in a couple weeks. And I don't have to stress about trying to be the first one to get in there.
Yeah.
Because it makes me tense. So
a lot of these curriculums, a lot of them do use workbooks. Right Start Math All by Reading is a good example, but a lot of these curriculums also are digital, and they offer
digital PDFs.
They offer you digital downloads. So they go out in there and say they buy their digital download of X, Y, or Z curriculum.
Yeah, you can even buy digital download of the worksheets for Right Start Math.
Yeah, the worksheets. Yeah,
but Build Your Library, Blossom and Root, those are all digital PDF.
All digital, and maybe some of the math programs out there as well. I don't know if Explode the Code is all digital. You can buy a digital version of it.
No, you buy workbooks.
Okay,
with those, or do an online subscription. Yeah,
so there's some of them are. I think there were a few things that we did that might have been online, but whatever. 1/2 dozen of the other. If you get a digital curriculum, how can you save money there, right?
Well, so yeah, this is the problem. Some people are like, okay, great. I got this digital curriculum for $30. Now I'm going to go to Homeschool Printing Company, which is great, and spend $40 on binding it. So all of a sudden your cheap digital option is, now I love to have hard copy.
Yeah.
And all of our digital curriculums, I do print them all. And I put them in 3-ring binders because that's just what I like to do. So I get that. I get that you want to have something tactile. I love just printing them at the library. Look at your local library. Our library does 70 black and white sheets every week for free.
Is it a week? No, I thought it was per day.
No, it's per week.
Per week, okay.
Or it's 7 color sheets. So I get the cover printed in color, and then I print 60 sheets of black and white. And I can do that in 1 week. So in a couple of weeks, you can have your entire curriculum printed for free. Grab yourself a 3-ring binder with a view pocket in the front for the cover of the curriculum, and voila. It is not spiral bound, and I know the cleanliness of a nice comb binding. I know. It is nice, but it's also expensive. And if you can print, our library has a system, and I think a lot of libraries do now, where we can do remote printing. Right here from my home, I can send my file to be printed, and I will go pick it up at the library with all my books on hold with my name on it. And it's beautiful.
Just as an aside, I think I might have printed a Cinderella coloring page at your office today. So if anyone's asking who's Cinderella
I did
coloring,
Elsa ones last week by accident. Because
I went to click on the print and it said network, and I was like, oh no, and I kept hitting print. There may be 10 copies of a coloring page at your office. Sorry.
Yeah. Anyways. So yeah.
We digress.
Check out your local library. If not, think about how you might be able to other affordable ways to print. But I think the library is great. And if you can't do a remote print with your library, you certainly could put it on a jump drive and go print it that way. You have rights to print these digital PDFs, but you don't have to pay the expensive prices to have them formally bound, even though I know it's awesome. But we're talking budget here. So the other thing when you're talking about ways to save on acquiring it is for your online curriculum subscription models. You're going to get much better pricing if you choose longer plans. Mm-hmm. So we've been,
pay as 1 year versus monthly.
Exactly. Pay quarterly versus monthly or whatever. Yeah, you're always going to get better pricing, but there is that risk to weigh. How much are your kids going to like it? Yeah. This may be something where you say like, well, for the first 3 months, I'm going to go month to month and see if my kids really dig this. And then after 3 months, I'm either going to stop it or I'm going to turn on the year subscription and save all that money. Like, maybe you come up with a middle ground, but just know that those online curriculums are really wanting to push you to longer subscription models, which will save you month to month, but are a bigger initial outlay. So just something to think about, saving money on the online side of curriculum.
No, I like that idea of going month to month. I think it's at first, I think is probably the most important thing, especially in any subscription thing, because you just don't know, how much you're going to, unless it's something like Grammarly that I know that I like,
it kind of depends on your kid. You might, your child might have already had some experience with, Beast Academy has like an online mode. Yeah. I mean, if you had a great experience with it, and this is one where you really want to be careful about, is it by student or is it by family? Because you really can save if it's just a family license, and you can get all your kids to use different levels of whatever curriculum it is. So those are a few ways to save on buying the curriculum.
How about extending it? Like, I got my curriculum and I want this stuff to last forever. I want it to last longer. How can I? You had a great term there, the salvage cost. How can
I'm in this accounting class right now, you guys. It's all about depreciation and salvage cost. Okay, so
can I depreciate my curriculum on my taxes?
I wish.
As a homeschool auditor, yes, you can.
So
150%.
The best thing you can do if you want to use this curriculum for multiple children, you need to leave your curriculum ready for your next kid. Yeah. So that means that you have to go through it thoughtfully. We talked about this with All About Reading, where the first time we did the first lesson, we just burned through the consumable workbook. Yeah. Cut it up, tossed it out, weren't very organized with our cards and stuff.
I couldn't even comprehend that my 1-year-old would be needing this.
Right. We did not leave things in a good state for ourselves at all. And so this is one of those housekeeping things that the better your curriculum is organized, the better you'll be able to use it again with your next student, and increases your salvage cost. So we'll talk about that a little bit. So your resellability of this curriculum really depends on how well you keep it. So, having it in good condition, that means storing it someplace where your toddler's not scribbling all over it. Ask me how I know. Yep. And there's a few things you can do. A lot of them have like consumable workbooks, and there's a few things that you can do to save those. One, you can unbind your consumables and put them in a binder, and then take them out and put them in a slip sheet, and have your kiddo do whiteboard marker on the slip sheet and then put it back in. The other thing that you can do is if there's cutouts, like All About Reading, you can save those cutouts. The one we bought from this other family, the mom had a whole 3-ring binder, and she had big slip sheets. And inside there, she had little Ziploc baggies, and the Ziploc baggies had all the manipulative little word cutouts.
Yeah, a lot of times there's like a lot of cutouts that you have to put words together, or you're moving letters around.
So she saved them all in little Ziplocs, and then she had the sheet of paper that explained the activity.
All the flashcards as well
and everything was in there.
And they were actually organized in order. So it was like, up on the flashcards on All About Reading at the top, they tell you what lesson it is and what version of All About Reading it is. And so you're like lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3, and you could just follow the lessons, and she had organized them all in order, which was amazing, because a lot of times when you use those cards, you're just, you're doing your daily review and you're just cranking through cards and words, and you're just practicing reading a ton. You don't care about the order of those cards. Right. So she had actually put them, when it was all done, she had put them away in order. because it says up on the top.
Right. She did a wonderful job. And that's why we're getting into this relationship with her to buy her next levels, because she did a great job.
We as young Padawans are learning.
Well, and that's the thing. I think that the learning is...
Storing it away is really important.
The learning is really a good point to make, because when we started All About Reading, I didn't know how to maximize my consumable to use it for the next child. I didn't learn that until I had bought it from somebody else. So I think that a great thing that you can do when you first get a new curriculum, if you're like, how do I make sure that I can extend this life? Join the buy, sell, trade group and look at what people are selling, and you're going to get an idea very quickly. Or join the discussion group for that curriculum and ask, hey, I just bought this. I'd really like to use it for my next couple of kids. What do you all recommend on how to organize or save your manipulatives or your consumables or whatever it is? And those folks are going to give you lots of great ideas, because you're not the first family to try to use this for multiple kids. So definitely look at that. Some curriculums also have the ability to get like the worksheets as a digital. So for Right Start Math is a great example. You have to buy the teacher guide hardcover, but then the activity sheets, you can either buy it as a hardcover, or you can spend $10 more and buy it as a digital PDF. For me, it was worth it to buy it as a digital PDF so that I can just print it out for our second daughter. And it ends up saving me like $20. The other thing is that now I have it as a digital, I can also reprint pages if our daughter struggled with a section. Like as we're going through the year, I could print out those pages again and have her do them at the end of the year as a test on her growth. And does she have any lingering issues or gaps that we need to address? So I liked the idea of being able to do that.
Well, and some of those sheets were the assessments and the reviews. And sometimes if you're going through a review and they didn't do very well, you may want to print that review again and do it again, right? That
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, in this case, your buy-sell trade groups are really helpful. They're helpful for you to know how to properly organize and store that to resell, and your discussion groups too, both. The discussion groups can be helpful for all of that stuff. The buy-sell trade groups really helpful for you to know what the market value of that used curriculum is. Because one of the things you can think about, and we thought about this when we bought Right Start Math. We were like, man, Right Start Math was a big initial outlay. It was like, I don't know, like $150 or $130 for the curriculum the workbook and the teacher book, and that was like $200 in manipulatives. Yeah. It was a very expensive initial outlay our first year of homeschooling, and
I've seen a lot of people,
and that was not included in our $600, by the way. It was purchased the year before.
Years ago, yeah.
So
I've seen a lot of people be leery of that purchase right there.
Right.
Like the Right Start Math.
It's a big purchase.
I actually asked, there was something on Reddit the other day where a woman was asking, can I do Right Start Math without the manipulative set? What would I need? And I was like, yeah, you can just do it with an abacus and like hand make all your cards.
And this is a great place. You're answering that question on Reddit, but the curriculum discussion groups is also a great place to ask that question. This is a perfect thing to ask too. Hey, do I need all the pieces? No. And those discussion groups will give you the real truth of, no, you don't really need to buy all these pieces. There's a lot of curriculum that has like, it's not just one book or two books. It's like 4 books, and they mix and match different bundles, and you get all confused. What do I actually need?
That's
Ask the discussion group people, because they will tell you what you actually need.
I think Singapore Math was like that. There were like 4. I think there were like 4 workbooks.
You
Some
get
of them
confused.
were like, do you need to buy the answer key when it's like a kindergarten math thing? I don't think you do.
Right, but it was just like, sometimes I got very confused.
I get because they're kind of double dipping on that with like a regular school, public school.
Sure.
And they maybe the teacher is having somebody else grade, and they need to have the answer key there for somebody to do that. So who knows? But like for us as homeschoolers, I don't know if we need that stuff. So
there's a lot of them. I was looking at something earlier, and
like
they had
Math Mammoth had that too, where there were a couple answer keys and stuff, and I never used those books.
Right. There was something I was looking at earlier, one of the curriculums I was researching, and it had like a variety of a student notebook and then a student workbook, and like the student notebook looked like it was kind of optional. It looked like kind of a regular notebook with some graphics on it, but nothing like I couldn't just put together myself. There's a lot of things like that, and I think that you need to go out and ask parents who actually use it, whether it's in a Facebook discussion group or at your co-op or with your other parents at a meetup or whatever it is. If there's pieces you don't understand, don't just buy the whole bundle, because the curriculum company definitely wants you to do that. But if you want to save money, ask what you really need. And I think the manipulative set from Right Start's a good example. of you don't actually need everything. We decided in that case, I had gone on the buy sell trade groups. I knew how much I could sell that Right Start for. And I knew that on that purchase, if we got it, first of all, we thought this is an investment, right? We're going to use this. Yes, it's a $200 set of manipulatives, but it lasts for all of elementary math.
Yeah.
And that's a long time for a set of manipulatives to last. And we have 2 children. So theoretically, that's pretty good if you spread it all out. And I knew that if we got it and it was like a total flub for us, it just didn't work. I knew that the resale value was pretty high and it was in demand. So I felt like it was a pretty safe purchase. Either we were going to use it for a long time and we were going to definitely get our money's worth out of it, or we were going to sell it quick and not be down that much. So, it's important to understand that salvage cost, because when you get into something, let's say you do have to go with All About Reading because you have a child who's dyslexic. You have to purchase that curriculum and it is more expensive and it is the cornerstone of your budget. If you can't get it used, at least you know that you'll be able to resell it at a good price if you take good care of it. So that's kind of our ideas for extending and ensuring that you get some money back on your curriculum.
So let's get into some working examples. We want to talk about some budget-friendly curriculum options that might be out there.
Right. Don't feel like you need to write all of this down.
Yeah,
we're going to
I'll put
give
them in
you
the show
resources.
notes.
It's going to be in the show notes, but we're going to run through a bunch of curriculums that we found that might be great budget-friendly options for you to look into.
Absolutely. So let's start with the 4-letter word that everybody loves to see. It's the F word, free.
Not that 4-letter F word.
Not that 4-letter. Family show.
You got me there,
I
Booza.
almost got you there.
All right.
Got you. So let's talk about free. First thing, I think one of the highest quality products out there is the Khan Academy. They cover pretty much everything from math to, history to, computer science,
There's
to
arts and
science
humanities.
engineering. It is such a good curriculum. Now, is it useful for kindergartners and first graders?
Khan Academy Kids certainly
Khan Academy
is.
Kids is really good.
It's a great app. We've used it. The thing about Khan Academy is it isn't a full curriculum.
No.
It's not going to give you 36 weeks of scope and sequence and here's what to do. It does have a lot of great resources.
It does.
It's probably a really good supplement. I don't think that it can just stand on its own. But hey, if you're out there and you're using Khan Academy and it's standing on its own for you,
Let us know.
Let us know how you're doing it, because I think that's great. I think maybe you could piece it all together and make it, but it's not really intended for that at this level.
Yeah.
I know you can take it's very concept driven.
Well, it's also, I think when I used it back in the day, it was more like piecemeal. Like, I'm having a problem with this.
Right. And
I need to find a video of them helping me with this.
exactly.
And I think they're trying to make it more complete now. I do like the Khan Academy Kids. It's so,
But you could go on
fun
there and
and
say, hey,
useful.
I want to
Yeah.
teach all the basic math topics to my, early elementary kid, and find videos on all of those.
pretty much.
One thing I just don't know if it would give you all the various ways to look at those different problems. Is yes, you can teach your kid addition and subtraction, but Right Start or one of the other Math Mammoth, they have a lot of ways of looking at things.
Yeah,
that are helpful.
And they cycle and loop back on things.
Yeah.
And that I have found that for my learner, she needs to loop back on things over at least 3 or 4 times before she actually gets it.
So this is a really great resource, maybe not a full curriculum, but it could have enough pieces to give you,
If you're an eclectic person and you're just you're saying I'm not a really one-stop shop type of curriculum person, I'm going to piece together all the little things that I want. This could be a very big piece of your math.
It
curriculum.
absolutely could.
Absolutely. Next thing is the core knowledge. This goes from basically pre-K all the way through 8th.
Right. And so this is language arts, history and geography, science, and math. It is 100% free.
Yep.
So it's definitely something to check out. We did an interview, link the interview with Justin and Caroline Schell, and they used core knowledge. That was their primary curriculum for their homeschool, and they were really happy with it. So it is totally free. So definitely check that out. We'll put a link in the show notes.
There's a CK12.
Yeah, CK-12. So that's K through 12. It's math, science, history, geography, social studies, and English language arts. So this is another one. preface I want to make, I guess we should have said before we started all this, we'll talk about the ones we've actually personally used. These other ones, we can't vouch for them other than that they're secular, but we wanted to give you some, initial things to investigation options, let's call it, for budget-friendly curriculum. These ones, so this is a completely secular and this is completely free.
And also, if you have something that you've been using that we're not talking about that is free or really, really budget-friendly and is secular, feel free to put that in the comments.
Absolutely.
Whether it's on the Facebook group or on the YouTube channel so you can help others.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
So those are the free ones.
Those are free, but let's more likely they're going to find something that actually costs money. So like a low cost. So like what is give us some low cost all-in-ones.
Okay. So all-in-one, and I'm using all-in-one a little bit loosely because some of these don't have every core subject, but they are multi-subject. So we've talked a lot about the digital PDF curriculums if you've listened to the show for any length of time. So Blossom and Root, preschool through 5th grade. It does all subjects except math. Although I think in the early years and maybe in kindergarten, it does math. But in the higher levels, I don't believe there's any math.
No, I think when we interviewed Christina, she said you probably want to get your own math curriculum.
Yeah, there's integrated math in the space science in kinder. But I don't think it goes above that. So it's $45 to $160 a year. It gets more expensive as the levels get up. So like $45 for the early levels, $160 for the 5th grade level, which is pretty massive. Yep. And you have to buy your own books. So this is a digital PDF curriculum. So if you think about it, having all your subjects except math, even for $160 a year, it's not bad. If you can get all the books at the library. Yep. You can really do pretty good. And for the lower levels at $50 for the whole year.
Yeah, for us, they're almost no-brainers.
Yeah, pretty good deal. So next one, Build Your Library. We've talked a ton about that. This is a K through 12 literature-based curriculum. It does all subjects except math, again. And it's $30 to $60 a year. You do have to buy your books. With both of these curriculums, when I say all subjects, it is literature-based, and there is copy work, and there are different ELA subjects. It's not phonics though. No. Phonics is its own thing. So just know if you're new to this that this does not replace a phonics program, but it has a lot of the other ELA elements, just not that specifically. Then
there's Torchlight, which we've talked about as well. Yeah. Pre-K through 5.
Pre-K through 5th, a Socratic based literature all-in-one type of thing. All subjects except math, again, except math is in pre-K, but not the rest of the levels. So it goes up to 5th grade, $30 to $75 a year. Again, you have to acquire your own books. Yep. So the big thing about these options is that you have to get the books. So if you really want to be budget friendly, you're going to want to look at the book lists. All of these curriculum providers give the book lists online, and then you can check and see how's your library sitting with those books. I found that some curriculums I find lots of books for, and others it's difficult. So you can really judge, could this be a budget-friendly option for me? Because if you buy this for $40 for a whole year, that's a great deal. Oh, yeah. But then if you have to spend $300 in books, it's not a good deal. So really, these ones are about the book list if you want to keep them affordable.
How about Global Village?
Yeah, so Global Village School I had not heard of before, but I want to put it on here. It's $120 a year. It includes all subjects, including math. Again, you have to get your own books. Yep. So I thought that was very interesting. We have not used this one. I cannot vouch for it, but it might be something interesting to look at because it does have everything in it.
Yeah, if you don't want to spend on math, if you think about what you're going to pay for math, maybe that's the difference for you.
Absolutely.
How about online? So we have basically the Great Courses Plus.
Right. So Great Courses Plus is a totally online system. There's hundreds of courses. It's mostly for middle and high school students. Yeah. We wanted to mention it even though we usually talk mostly about early learners, but I thought it was worth mentioning. It's $20 a month if it's billed monthly, or $15 a month if it's billed quarterly, but there's a family plan. So if you've got a few different middle to high school kids in your house, this is a pretty good deal because it's all online video courses and it's a family plan. So I think that's pretty nice. And billing quarterly is not too bad as far as a commitment goes.
And then there's Starfall, like a pre-K to 3rd.
Right. Pre-K to 3rd, reading, math, music, and STEM. And this is an online and app-based, and
Okay.
it's $35 a year for your whole family. So, takes all your kids. I think that's pretty cool. We have not used either Great Courses or Starfall, but wanted to mention them as online options that were pretty affordable.
So stepping back from like your all-in-one curriculum, which is mainly geared towards your literature and all of that. How about the math? We've done Math Mammoth,
Yep.
1st grade to 7th grade.
Right. It's $45 a year or a level. We ended up going through more than one level in a year, but most people, that's not typical. I would say it's probably a year. So it's $45 for the hard copy bundle for the year. You can get the digital only option cheaper when then you print them yourself. So I think that's pretty good for math, and there's no required math manipulatives for Math Mammoth. So that makes it a really good deal.
I think a couple times she does call out, using household items, but for the majority, it is in the workbooks. So
right,
and I think she advocated for you to use an abacus at times for doing some conceptual understanding, and she has a lot of links for other things and games and whatnot. So she does call out those things, and if you want to go back and listen to our interview with Maria Miller from Math Mammoth, you can learn a little bit more about that. But yeah, it is more workbook focused.
Yeah, we finished all of level 1 and we really enjoyed Math Mammoth. I think it's a very solid, and we believe it's a very solid math program. So for $45 a year, I don't think you can really beat that cost.
Nope.
Next one that I found was teaching textbooks. This is 3rd grade through 12th grade. It's $40 to $70 a year, and it is online. So, one of the things about it's hard with online because you can't pass it down to the next kid. But even like a Math Mammoth, those are all workbook based. So you'd have to buy new ones anyway, unless you go digital and you could print them, which is another great reason to go digital. Yep. But so I thought that this was pretty affordable. I mean, even up to $70 a year for high school math is pretty darn good, I think.
That's pretty good. How about Wild Math, K through 5th?
Right. Wild Math, K through 5th. It's a digital PDF. It's only $30 a year, which is pretty good. And it uses all items found in nature for manipulatives, which I think is cool. So if you've got kids that love to be outside and, that's their favorite thing, you don't want to have to buy a bunch of manipulatives, or this would be really good for somebody who's like road schooling or doing, has a very small home, doesn't have a lot of room to store a lot of curriculum and manipulatives.
But does it support boat schooling? Can you?
I don't think so, because they're using lots of rocks to add and different things like that. Gotcha. I mean, but I think it's a pretty cool concept. I haven't used it, but I've heard good things. So, absolutely. Hey, for $30 a year, not bad.
How about ELA?
Yep. So for your learning to read and other English language arts stuff, I think that the best deal you can really get is Explode the Code. We use Explode the Code now. Yep. It's a K through 4th grade. Teaches phonics and how to read. The workbooks are $8 a piece. You'll use several of them per year. So, I mean, let's say that you used 2 or 3, it's like $24. Or you can get $30 a year for their online subscription, which you can use any of their levels, K through 4. And when one student graduates out of that, you can transfer it to another student within the same calendar year, which I think is pretty cool. So either hard copy or digital, you're talking about like $30 for a year's worth of reading. And I think like comparatively, All About Reading is $100. So, I mean,
yeah,
I think, and we've really enjoyed Explode the Code, and Beyond the Code is part of that series.
I've actually found the Beyond the Code to be very good. Like very, very good. I think we'll do a review on that. We just finished, what was it, the 1.5 just recently. We'll probably do that as a review in the coming weeks or so. And then there's another one called Write Shop.
Yep, this is all about
K through 6th grade.
Yep, learning to write, and it's $45 a year. So comparatively, I looked up Brave Writer, which I've heard really good things about, and I love Julie Bogart, but that's pretty expensive. So at $45 a year, it might be something to look up if you're trying to encourage your student to do more writing.
Ooh,
learn more
absolutely.
About writing.
What about science?
So there's a couple options for science. Sassafras Science is K through 6. It's $30 a semester. So if you do only a 2-semester year, $60 a year.
That's good.
Covers a lot of different aspects, and it looks pretty cool. I've heard good things about Sassafras
Maybe
Science.
we'll have to check it out and do some reviews on it.
Yeah, we haven't used
science has been a big thing that we know the community and people have been asking about, and that's something I think we need to jump on and look into. Maybe we'll
Right.
look through a few of these.
One of the things that I would mention is that Blossom and Root is really great about breaking out
Yeah.
their different levels into different bundles. So we were able to purchase for like K, for example, we were able to purchase the science and nature as a bundle split off from the full kindergarten curriculum. We got that at a much better price. I think it might have been $45, and that was for the whole year. So if you're looking into science, you might check out Blossom and Root and see those because she has carved out science, and she does the same thing for art and nature. So sometimes they're bundled together, sometimes they're different, but she really does a good job of taking her all in one and giving you lots of ways to divvy it up if you just want this piece and you don't want to have to buy the entire thing. So look that up for science, art, and nature.
Well, especially since we're going into the prehistory stuff and the early.
So prehistory is a great example.
Yeah.
I bought the science unit from the 3rd grade curriculum because I just wanted that.
Yeah, exactly. So Sassafras, we talked about a little bit about Blossom and Root. What about Scientific Connections?
So Scientific Connections Through Inquiry, this is based on building foundations for scientific understanding. So you might have heard of this, BFSU. We actually bought the first book of this, and it's
BFSU too.
So it's like a K through 6th through 7th. It's elementary science. It's broken up into Building Foundations for Scientific Understanding is broken up into 3 books, 3 volumes, and you're supposed to work through those over the course of elementary science. However, it's written for like a science teacher to teach a class.
We got the green book, which is K through 2, I think.
Right. We bought the first book, and it's very dense, and it's not very homeschool parent friendly, but it's really.
I read that introduction section on how to. He has this very complex way of like jumping through all the different lessons and stuff. Okay, you're going to do these lessons here, then these lessons over here, then these lessons over here, and you're like, all right, dude, you need to spend like 3 or 4 pages just to tell me how to like move through this book. You're already losing, half of your users right
and
there.
You have a physics degree,
Yeah,
so
like, dude, I don't know.
I felt like you were very able to read it, but I don't think that it's very user friendly for the average homeschool parent. But what I really like about the whole concept is, if you watched our review video for Torchlight and Build Your Library, or our spine review. One of the things I talked about the big science for little people that I hate is that a lot of science at this age is like experiment of the week without any foundation. And so your student's not really learning anything. They're seeing something cool, but it's not growing and building. What I like about this is it is teaching these really basic elementary concepts, and then it builds on those and shows students through experiment.
The thinking is stellar.
The thinking is stellar.
The implementation is just confusing.
So this other parent got together with the author of Building Foundations for Scientific Understanding to make this user-friendly curriculum called Scientific Connections Through Inquiry. So it's $40 a year for a digital PDF. And it takes all of that great science basis and it synthesizes it into something that homeschool parents can actually, easily use and teach. And I've heard really good things about it. So I think that's pretty great. $40 a year for science. Can't beat it. K through 7th.
So running into a little bit of extras, we're in overtime, education wise, foreign languages.
Yeah. I just wanted to give a quick shout out for Duolingo, which I have used that. I mean, it's been years. I used it back when they only had like 3 languages, and now they have so many languages. It's an online, and I think there's app-based too, foreign language learning program. It is 100% free, and you can learn so many languages. It starts at kinder and goes on up to adult.
And it's also dynamic on like how it can kind of sense how well you're learning.
Right. It's really cool. It's almost kind of game type based. It's funny. I did Duolingo, I don't know, probably 8 years ago, something like that. I took only the first couple of weeks of German, and I still remember the things I learned. And I've had no more of it. I was like playing around with it, and I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. I still remember that stuff. It really worked, even in that short period of time. And they have so many languages on there. If your kid like really wants to learn something that's a bit more obscure than your normal Spanish, French, German, there's a lot. You can learn Klingon on there. I saw that there was Yiddish there. I think there might be Turkish on there now. There was like 30 languages. I was shocked at the number of languages, and they're adding more languages all the time. So
Cool.
if your kid's you need to do foreign language, as we will shortly here, as our child gets older, you
Espanol.
can't go wrong with Duolingo. Definitely check that out because it's totally free.
All right. So we've covered a bunch of ideas, bunch of examples. There's obviously a lot more out there. Hopefully people will post in the comments on the Facebook page and the YouTube if they have something that they're really into.
Yep. And stay tuned for the short bite this week. We're going to talk about a great resource to find even more curriculum that you might want to investigate. These are just some options we found in a few of the main categories that were on the pretty affordable side. We can't vouch for all of them, obviously, but we wanted to give you guys a little bit of a head start in looking for some things that might fit your budget.
So let's kind of like distill it down into some things to remember when they're going out and, setting their budget for their curriculum, thinking about what they want to purchase. What are these, give them some partying ideas.
So parting thoughts, online curriculum is typically more expensive in the long run if you have multiple kids because you can't reuse it.
Yeah.
So kind of remember that. Think about the total use case for your family, not just this year, but how could this fit into the rest of your homeschooling journey? Maybe hard to think, in those terms right now, but if you can, as much as possible that you can think ahead, you will save, right? A lot of this is about being able to plan ahead.
And you very, very often are thinking 2 years ahead.
Sometimes you have to. And that can be really daunting because how can you plan 2 years ahead if you don't know if it's going to work for you right now?
Yeah.
That's stressful.
If you know you're in homeschooling for the long run, if that's kind of your vision, at least for the next couple of years, you can start to plan that out.
It's one of those things, I think, when you do the first level of something, like when we did the first level of Right Start, I wasn't thinking, we're going to be doing... I was hoping, because we bought that expensive manipulative kit, that yes, this would work for the long term, but I wasn't necessarily shopping around for level 2 right away. No. I gave it a little bit of time for that curriculum to sink in, for us to go, this is really good, and it really works with our daughter, and we're definitely going to continue this, before I went and started shopping for future.
Yeah.
So do that. If you're going to get something new, try it on for size for a bit, but then the further in advance you can plan, the better the pricing you can get.
Well, and also
more opportunity to get things used in that.
It becomes even more important if you start doing something like wackadoodle, like what we're doing, which is using curriculums as kind of like review mechanisms
using multiple curriculums. We weren't really planning on doing that at all. It just kind of happened.
It just kind of happened, and we find that works best for our daughter. So we'll do an entire Right Start math curriculum, and then we will follow it up with the same level of math, right? And she will move fast through it, but it will all be review, and also be kind of like, doing math through two different creators' mindsets. And, you're becoming even more comprehensive in attacking that same idea from multiple different directions. And we found that to be very helpful, but, you may not have as much time. So if you're going to go do these type of review mechanisms, or even just have an additional curriculum that is sort of like a morning basket curriculum, when you're buying multiple curriculums for the same level, you're going to want to save money even more, right? Because it could just add up really fast.
Yeah, we had to just keep feeding our daughter different math things because she needed them. And then we had to find other ways to help with reading because she was struggling.
I was a coal shoveling man in my daughter's train.
Yeah, so we had reasons why we had multiple things, but everybody does not have to do that.
No, it's just, but even I think it speaks more towards kind of the uniqueness of every single homeschooling family, that they may have something that's unique to them.
Absolutely.
For example, you may want to go to the online options because you're on the move all the time, and your kids really need to do a lot of their homeschooling through their tablets.
Totally.
Right? We just don't know. There's so many different use cases out there. Maybe you live in a rural area and you have it's not even dial up. You're doing pigeon carry. There's a pigeon internet. I don't know.
We used to have internet like that when we lived in the country.
We used to, yeah.
It was horrible.
Well,
satellite.
When we were building the house, do you remember those days? We didn't have any internet. Guys, take a knee. Ariel and I, living in outside Seattle area, we had 1 gigabit internet delivered to our house 3 months before we left to go move out into the sticks in our trailer while we were building our house, where we had zero
We
internet.
lived in a trailer for 8 months with no internet. It was
with a
it was
dog.
bad.
With a dog. Those were the days.
Yeah, that was
Those were the days.
when we built our house. Yeah, but now we're back in the burbs, so it works for us. So, anyways, another note that I just really I gotta say this here: if you're going to be very budget minded with your curriculum purchase, you have to leave behind the grass is greener, shiny mentality.
The FOMO.
I mean, I am so guilty of this, of getting something and being like, yeah, that's what we're going to do. And then be like, ooh, look at that thing over there. You have to leave that behind if you're going to be really conscious of your budget, because you can't just jump ship. And that may mean that you might have to stick it out with something that might not be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's important, obviously, to try to make the best decision you can with your curriculum. But you know, you may have to, if it's not like the perfect thing, you may have to supplement a little yourself. You may have to alter it a little yourself. You might not be able to go out and just grab another curriculum because it doesn't fit the budget. So you might have to kind of leave that behind, unless it just seriously mismatches your child's learning level, or it's a constant struggle or fight or something. You know, your mileage may vary with that. But
next thing you want to do is look at the total cost of ownership, whether that's your manipulatives for your math, whether it's your workbooks, how you're managing those curriculums that have a lot of workbooks or consumables. How are you managing that? How are you doing that through time, considering you may have younger children that are coming up through that. So those type of considerations, you know, interdimensional, cross time, homeschooling. I mean, it's like, you know, 3-dimensional chess, right?
Yeah, it's considering total cost of ownership is a big deal, and that was very, very much on my mind with Right Start, as I said, with buying the expensive.
I remember we agonized over that buy button. We're like, should we drop $400 on this math curriculum, knowing that we may have these. We started doing the manipulatives, like, well, okay, it's only like $30 a year for manipulatives over the next 6 years, and this type of thing. But
then we're going to use it for a second child.
But then we looked at each other and said, what if she hates it?
and then I said, well, I've been on the buy sell trade groups, and I know what we can sell it for. Or we could keep it for our second child, and maybe it will work for her.
Yep.
That's another thing. You know, if you determine that a curriculum didn't work for one of your kids, and it's not too far to get to the next kid, you might just save it and try it on for size with the next child. You might not completely abandon it unless you really want to recoup that money and spend it right away. You know, just because it didn't work for one doesn't mean it won't work for another. Yeah, but try to look at the overall cost. And some of these have some bigger upfront costs, especially Right Start's the most expensive upfront that I can think of with manipulatives, other than a giant box curriculum or something. Yeah. So there's a lot of considerations to make here, but I think it's more than about just what you spend at the beginning. Really, I mean, think about the whole thing. And some curriculums, you know, you may really like paying a little bit every month and not having to drop a big amount right at the beginning, or, you know, there's lots of different budget considerations. But I hope that kind of getting you in this mindset with your curriculum was helpful, and these few affordable and free options might give you some leads that you can investigate.
Your curriculum decisions is, I think.
I mean, it's huge. If you decide to use a curriculum, again, there's some families don't even use a curriculum at all. They're just unschool and they're not concerned.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about,
but most families,
if you cleave off the unschoolers and even the eclectic people, you know, I'd
say we're eclectic.
I know. I think most of us are. I think most homeschoolers. I mean, from all of our interviews, they're mostly eclectic. They're piecemealing their box. Essentially, everybody's building a boxed curriculum that is, you know, tailored to their student.
Right, because those boxed curriculums are so expensive.
But even then, your curriculum as a whole, if you think of it as like, this is my child's curriculum, it in and of itself it's a living, breathing thing.
Yeah. Whether or not
you're moving faster in one subject, or you're doing some funky review thing like we are, or you have a child who isn't, you know, getting it with this one curriculum, and you've got to pivot to another thing. So there's always so many, you know, it's so multi, you know, there's so many variables in your curriculum decisions for even just between children, right? I mean, we've talked to a number of families who have completely different curriculum choices across 3 or 4 children. Right?
Yeah, that is rough.
And that's rough, because then it's not only just the fact that you have to continue to maintain all those different options, but also managing it and teaching it. And I mean, I couldn't imagine hopping between 3 different math curriculums. Like, okay, I've got to put my Right Start math hat on, and over here I got to put my Beast Academy hat on. And it's like, okay, as an educator, that can be really complex. So
yeah, but I mean, they make it work, so that they can tailor their education for each child.
That's the goal.
Great.
But just understand that when you're getting into it, you could have those type of dynamics. Or listen, you could have 10 kids, and they all do Right Start math, and it's wonderful, and it's super easy, right?
Right, and you need 2 sets of manipulatives because you have so many kids using it. At the
and
same
you've
time.
got that 14-year-old teaching the 5-year-old, and you don't even have to educate. You're kind of like the the architect from the Matrix. Yeah, you're just the administrator, just running everything. How can I get that? I can get the dog teaching math.
So anyways, it's getting late. We're getting funky, but we hope this was really helpful for everybody. Yeah. Check out these great show notes that Matt's made for this episode. And
they're so good. They're so good. I haven't even made them, and I know they're that good.
Yeah. And while you're there, go over, leave us a review.
Oh, please.
Get on to Gumroad, to our store, and check out the resources that we have there. They're all pay what you want. So, they're offered free if that's what your budget can afford. Have them with our best wishes.
Absolutely.
So everyone,
go forth and purchase.
Go forth, have a happy budgeting, and we'll see you on the next episode in our budget series.
Thanks so much for joining us today and making us a part of your homeschool journey. Please engage with us on social media. Join our Homeschool Together podcast group on Facebook and find us at Homeschool Together Podcast on Instagram. We'd love to hear your feedback, questions, and recommendations. Until next time.
Happy homeschooling!